Howdy, everybody. Excuse me a second. Okay, right. Now I'm ready. Hello, everybody. LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch.tv, and my much beloved rumble.com/do not talk. I am so glad to have Brian Mock back on the show. Brian Mock is a J6er. He was one of the ones that was actually there at the Capitol building. He was one of the ones actually making his voice heard, peacefully assembling, as the Constitution tells us we can do. And then all hell broke loose. President Trump finished his speech. Many of them, a million or more, walked to the Capitol. It was a huge deal. And that was January 6th, 2021. The day that they were going to decide if they were going to certify the election. We were all hoping that President or Vice President Mike Pence would do the right thing and not certify the election, because as the Constitution also states, I'm paraphrasing, obviously, Charlie style, but hey, anybody jacks with the election and just any kind of hint of fraud, do over. No, you don't get to certify that election. You make sure it's done right. So I'm watching my president this past week doing that speech about election fraud, and now it is all on Truth Social. It's all at whitehouse.gov. Everything is out now. Here's the evidence. Here's who did what. It was an extraordinarily well-done speech, and 3 of the big networks didn't even carry it. ABC, PBS, who else? Did ABC? I don't think yeah. I'm so sick of the media. I've been in the media my entire adult life, and I hate my own business now. Hate it. I don't even want a job in it. I work at some radio stations. I'm a radio DJ personality, mostly country music stuff, and a talk show host. And I've been politically active for quite a while. Before that, though, I was just your fun-loving party DJ, telling jokes, trying to make people laugh, doing the morning show, that kind of stuff. That's what most of my career was. Who's going to take me seriously? No one. I'm just a good old boy from Bakersfield who wants everybody to have a good time, life to be a party. I'm the quintessential Peter Pan. I truly am. But I respect and admire people who speak up boldly and speak out and are not afraid. Now, actually, that is me. I am that guy. But I wasn't there at the Capitol building on January 6th. I wish I would have been. I wanted to be. I wanted to be at the Capitol building for this past 4th of July, or Independence Day, 250th birthday celebration. I wanted to be there. I don't know what was going to happen, how it was going to turn out. I just wanted to be there. For me, it's finances. It's a financial thing. I just don't have the money. I'm one of those fixed income guys now that I always said I would never be. Living in Northern California, one of the most expensive areas in the nation. Barely. Making it paycheck to paycheck. By the way, you want to help? Buy some of the merchandise on my website at charliesimons.com, like this big old 20-ounce coffee mug, or 15-ounce coffee mug. Sorry, made it bigger than it is. It is a big mug, though. Of course, it's red. Let's talk about politics and religion. Do not talk. I got shirts and hats, and this hat. Come on, you know you want this. Don't be acting like you don't. You know you want that hat. Love that hat, especially after my president's speech about all the election fraud that none of the networks carried. So a lot of people didn't see it, but you'll find it on my page, rumble.com/do not talk. You'll find it there. I did a show with Mike Cook, and he and I were watching the president's speech together. Mike out in Missouri, me out here in California, and the president right in the middle. And then we had a commentary both before and after. You'll find that at rumble.com/do not talk. So anyway, back to Brian Mock, my guest. He impressed me very much. extraordinary gentleman. He told amazing stories, heart-wrenching stories, infuriating stories about how the guards treated all of them. Such hatred, such racism and bigotry. Because out there in Washington, D.C., it's a sea of polluted leftist freaks, and most of them have government jobs. Yeah, law enforcement included. That's how it operates there. But you know what? Instead of me telling it, I'll let him tell it. But one thing I kept hearing in the media after President Trump's speech was, why doesn't he just let it go? Come on, we already proved that there was no not enough election fraud to affect the outcome of the. Wait, stop that right there. I hear Republicans saying that. Well, there's not enough fraud to actually affect the outcome of the election. Not enough? What's acceptable to you? Again, let's go back to our U.S. Constitution and then tell me that again, that there wasn't enough to prove, there wasn't proof that there was enough to affect the. Hear yourself? Do you hear how stupid and creepy you sound? Stop talking that way, Republicans, including my own elected representatives here in California. Stop talking that way. Oh, I hope this gets to one of them. Just one of them. Get them thinking a different way. I don't know. Again, who am I? Who's going to take me seriously? I'm just a good old boy from Bakersfield. Rock and roll, country music, fun time, fun-loving DJ. What did Rush Limbaugh always go? Maggot-infested FM radio DJ. I miss Rush, man. I miss him still. Anyway, all the media was saying, why doesn't President Trump just let it go? Why can't he just let it go? I don't want to ever let something like that go. That so adversely affected and stole our voice and our privilege of one vote to decide who's going to be calling the shots. And you pieces of my cuss, Bill, you pieces of are going to be telling me that I'm not supposed to be concerned about that? That you're taking that away from me? I can't wait until you're in jail. I really hope President Trump follows through and it goes to that point. I want to see some perp walks, especially the ones who treated Brian Mock and the other J6ers so horribly. In law enforcement, in the courts, politicians. I want to see orange jumpsuits, man. I want to see ankle shackles. That's what I want to see. I want to see eye for an eye, orange jumpsuit for an orange jumpsuit. Let's get Brian Mock in the mix now on Do Not Talk. Ready? Hit it. What's up, stud? Welcome back.
Thanks for having me back on, Charlie. You're hitting all of it. You're speaking my language. I don't know if you need me on. You can just keep going for a little bit. That's I like the orange jumpsuits, the perp walks. I think we're right in line on that one.
Absolutely, It's got to happen. It has to. Otherwise, what's going to keep it from ever happening again? We can't. First of all, we cannot forget what they did. Secondly, there's got to be punishment for what they did. Has to be, or it will just happen again and again and again.
Yep.
What happens if we ever, God forbid, get another Democrat running this nation? Which it's going to happen. It's going to happen. What are they going to do? They're going to turn right around and do the same thing unless somebody really paid some prices, heavy prices, for doing those acts of treason, as far as I'm concerned. It's got to be that way. So how are things for you now, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a wild ride for the last 5 years, plus 5 plus.
How about that?
I keep telling people my life became fiction in 2021 and it just keeps getting weirder every day. So been a mixed bag. I mean, I'm out pardoned, but we still face persecution and all that. We're facing it from our own party. And it's
thank
insane.
you. Yeah, let's stop right there and explore that, because you ran for office and you were surprised by the adverse reaction from people in our own party affiliation of the Republicans. What happened?
Yeah, so I'm down, moved down from the cities, escaped the Maoist takeover there, and
You're in
came down to
Minnesota, right?
yeah, in Minnesota. Yep, up in the Twin Cities. So lived there for 25 years, right?
Good old Tim Walls.
Oh yeah, yeah, old Tampon Tim, and we moved down to Southwest Minnesota here near Marshall, and right in the heart of of conservative Minnesota. And most people don't know that once you get out of the cities and away from the Iron Range, the Unions up north, very conservative state, and we're like a plus 23 district or something.
California is the same, brother. California is the
Yeah.
same. People just they don't realize that. You're right.
Yep.
I get it.
Yeah. So, figuring you're right here in this conservative area. When I got out, I got pardoned, but I was essentially homeless coming out of there. And my girlfriend, who was really just a supporter at the time, we didn't know each other. I came down here, met her. Luckily, she has terrible taste in men, so I'm doing well. But she had literally a foreclosed home that she had just acquired, and people in the neighborhood literally helped build that to where it was livable for a place for me to move into, which was amazing. I was blessed to have that. But I wanted to give back to that community. And this is the thing that I saw, and that, ultimately that I wanted and was missing, and go, hey, there's a sense of community. I could speak about who I was and not have to hide the fact that I was a J6er here. Not have to worry about people literally coming at me or vandalizing my house or threatening me physically. And so I could be open about it. And, I had seen a ton. And, when I got out, I had been advocating for prison reform, and I had actually uncovered billions in fraud through the Bureau of Prisons. And so when the fraud came out here in Minnesota, they said, hey, look, a bunch of people came to me and asked me to run for office, saying, hey, you had the guts to stand up and literally go to DC and stand up, speak out at the Capitol. I called out Bondi. We got into the DOJ. My prosecutor got fired 11 days after I met with Ed Martin. So we had done things that were successful, and we actually got a task force created within the Bureau of Prisons by my work with the DOJ. So people said, hey, you will actually stand up. And that's what we want. We're tired of the wishy-washy rhinos and those that are, we'll sit there and say what we want them to say, but turn around and vote for this budget and this omnibus bill. So I came in and ran for endorsement. And I think I was telling you before, I consider myself a unifier, because I managed to unify all of the establishment conservatives with the Democrats and the media to all work against me. And so it's
work
it was
against you.
Oh yeah. The last thing they wanted was someone that was actually going to go in there and stand up for the people, someone who was not going to be bought, do what we want our elected officials to do, because there's too much money at stake. And I say everyone, let's go with vast majority of those that are in politics, especially that get to any level of leadership. They're all corrupt. We see it from top down, and it's crazy how corrupt people are, even a local level. You go through your counties and cities, and it's the corruption's rampant, and nobody ever gets called out or checked on it, because you're all part of the country club. So I wasn't part of the country club, and so you don't get money, you don't get endorsements, and if you don't have endorsements and money, you better be independently wealthy to try to fight back against it. And right. I'm not.
Or not have to worry about a full-time job, because you're going to be walking precincts like crazy. And you were running for
state rep. Yeah.
Oh, you were. Oh, you were going for the biggie.
Oh yeah.
Oh, no wonder why they didn't want you. No wonder why. Because I thought you were like board of supervisors, something local.
Oh no, I don't mess around.
Mess around, man. I'm sorry that happened. I really am. Did they have an establishment candidate who was already an incumbent that you were going up against? Could that have been why?
No, well, the one that had stepped aside, they had their handpicked guy in there. So I was literally fighting against, state senators, state congressmen, campaigning for this guy. Hell, our congresswoman, her whole group was fighting against it. So, I knew what it was going in. So it wasn't a shock. But what I really wanted to do out of it was let my voice be heard and find out who amongst my community were like-minded individuals. Because there's going to come a day of reckoning here with these people. They can only push so far. So it's nice to know who you can trust in your community.
And it's got to happen locally too. We can't just keep depending on President Trump and his administration to take care of all the fraud. We have been turning a blind eye to it for way too long. All we've done is complain and whine, but we don't show up at city council meetings. We don't show up at county board of supervisor meetings. We don't show up at school board meetings. We don't show up. And they railroad through whatever they want. And all these little clowns and these mealy-mouthed little freaks who love their little positions of power, they're all running for local government offices and being on boards and so on. They love that. They love that little position of power. And we aren't getting involved, but then we're working, we're raising families, we're doing things that affect our lives right here in our home, our little home.
Yep.
But that's not supporting the community. I don't think. I don't know. I don't want to. I'm not doing it myself. So how preachy can I be? I mean, I've been to all those things I mentioned: school board, board of supervisors, city council. I've been to many of them, but I'm not going every week like I was during the whole COVID shutdown and so on. And unfortunately, a lot of things have just kind of gotten back to crappy normal. Nick Shirley there in Minnesota has done such amazing things. And then he came to California. They literally put up immediately one of those, midnight emergency sessions with all the demon Democrats going, what can we do to stop this? The attorney general's wife, who took over his spot when he got appointed to attorney general, Rob Bonta, which, by the way, that's an elected position. So that's a good trick. Rob Bonta, his wife, Mia, ran for his seat in the San Francisco Bay Area and won because people there are just that stupid. And now she has introduced, supposedly, allegedly, a bill to stop Nick Shirley, where guys like me, media, exposing fraud, naming names, we're now up for fines and prosecution, jail time possibly, forced to take down our content. This is California. This is insane. It is all but a done deal now at this point, and nobody seems to even be upset about it. It's so, it'll be challenged in courts. And when's that going to be? In the meantime, how many people are going to go to jail? How many people are going to get fined? How many people are not going to do anything at all because they're afraid? That's the bottom line there, Brian. That's what the ultimate goal is, to shut us up by making us afraid of prosecution. I don't want that kind of hassle. I'm not going to pursue that anymore. I've become great friends with a guy in the San Francisco Bay Area named Ramin, and he does a show called Ramin Real Talk. And he is like Nick Shirley. He's just out there, bam, nailing them. His research stuff is amazing. He's an extraordinary talent. Scared. What's going to happen? What's going to happen to my family? What's going to happen to my home? What's going to happen to my livelihood? What's going to happen? That's what's going on here in California. So we got to get up and speak up. Actually get registered to vote, registertovote.ca.gov here in California, registertovote.ca.gov. We need you desperately this coming November for the midterm election. We got to have you there and vote the whole ballot. And if you want to follow my lead, anything with an R in front of its name, get my vote, unless there's two Republicans running for the same position or same office. Then I'm going to do a little research and find out which one's more biblically based, which is how I vote. Are you pro-life? Are you pro-traditional marriage? Boom. All right, you got my support.
Just vote out the incumbent, and you're probably in the right way.
Yeah. And then there's that. Sorry for going off on a tangent. This show's about you. But
Oh, good. Love it.
I'm sorry I'm sorry you didn't progress further. Are you going to quit? You're going to try something else, maybe smaller?
I don't know, man. The interesting thing through all this is not many people just get to restart life. It's there's a blessing in everything, right? So yes, this whole thing cost me over $1.5 million and counting, and they took away my livelihood and all the things. But that puts you at zero, right? Move to a whole new area, restart, figure out, still figuring out who I'm going to be when I grow up. Got a little bit of that Peter Pan complex myself. So, but yeah, it's, so that is the cool part is, I started my antique shop here, so I get to go find treasures every day. I still do my activism. I've been all over the country. I've met with, everyone. It's crazy. I get Laura Logan shooting me messages for show prep stuff, questions for BOP director. So it's crazy. I've, my girlfriend talks to Pete Hegseth and Bobby Kennedy, so it's Christmas cards from them. So we have this weird, crazy, we have crazy life, man. So it's a lot of fun, and we never know what the hell we're going to do. So, but to your point there on the lawfare, that is the punishment, right? Whether they ever put you in prison or not, they don't care. They're going to crush you through the lawfare. You got to go hire an attorney, and any attorney worth a piss is going to cost you hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. And that's the whole game. They're going to crush you that way. They're going to crush you in the media.
What they did to General Michael Flynn. Who would have thought that they could have so effectively ruined him in so many different ways?
Yep. And that's how they come at you. So I've experienced that. And now I laugh. People got all upset because the local media was literally making up stuff about me and J6, the local independent newspaper, which actually was owned by a big conglomerate out of like West Virginia that owns a ton of local papers.
Oh yeah.
Well, they were doing their commentary, and they literally said that I had injured officers. I was attacking them with the batons. None of this was true, but they print it, and people were pissed. They're like, "Oh, you need to sue them," and this and that. And I just laugh.
You don't have that kind of money.
Yeah, and I laugh
all
at
kinds
it,
of. Oh my god!
Because I'm like, I understand. I'm glad that you all locally are pissed off, but like, this is nothing compared to what they did to me.
Yeah, exactly. Here's a suggestion: instead of actually telling Brian what he needs to do, why don't you do it?
Right.
Why don't you all get together and go, you know what? We're going to do a little letter writing campaign. We're going to find out this dude's email who owns this publication. We're going to hit the crap out of them. The one who wrote it. We're going to tell them we'll never have anything to do with them again. We're going to Here's a real effective thing to do. Conservatives, please listen. Don't listen to Sean Hannity. Well, we don't boycott. We're not like the left. Stop saying that. Please stop doing that. Yep. Nothing more. Trust me. I've been in the media my entire life. I've seen how effective, because I've had it utilized against me, where so I pissed off the homo mafia, as I call them, in San Francisco with a comment I made about the city council making it a law in the city that you as a business owner could not send a dude home and tell him to dress like a man when he shows up for work. They made that illegal. And I was on the radio doing a morning show, KSFO, and I went off on that. All hell broke loose. Both radio stations, KGO, KSFO, and our TV station, Channel 7, KGO, boycotts, threats. We're boycotting every advertiser, contacting the advertisers. They would monitor the station, hear who's advertising, contact them, phone calls, emails, even letters. We're never going to set foot in your business again. And I'm going to tell all my friends in our little homo mafia, none of us will shop at your place of business. How dare you support them? Pull your advertising from that station. All this to get me, little old me, fired.
Yep.
It's incredibly effective. Thank God I had a general manager where I was working. Mickey Luckoff was his name. I'll never forget him. What a stud. He goes, nope, Charlie, everything you said, that was your opinion. You didn't make anything up. You just told the facts and what you thought about it. That's your job. I swear I was the only conservative in the entire building, but he stood up for me despite all that heat coming down. That was my first experience getting death threats. And then I'd put them on the air. I'd have to bleep out all the cuss words, but I always ended it with just make sure you kill me.
Yeah.
Just make sure you kill me, because otherwise I'm coming after you.
Yep.
That's
they're fun,
very
now.
effective. So we need to do that kind of stuff, Brian. I really
100%.
think we need to do that kind of stuff, and it doesn't take that long.
No.
And if you can get a group together, like, well, I'm in a conservative group called Freedom Riders out here in NorCal, Freedom Riders 1776. And we just flag up our vehicles and our trucks, and we drive around areas and so on, show support and show a little patriotism and let people know in our neighborhood, you're not alone. Don't listen to the media. You're not the only one that feels this way and loves our nation and feels blessed to be here. You're not alone. And that's invaluable to me. But that group, all I'd have to do is send out, hey, they did this for my friend Brian Mock, who's a J6er, and here's the newspaper that did it, and here's the contact information I got for the guy who runs it or owns it, and let them go.
Yep.
We got to do that, my friends. We've got to all come together and start doing that. What's happening right now with Walmart? Walmart has got a whole wall of hijab crap down in Texas.
Yeah.
Muslim Islam crap, a whole wall of it in Texas. I'm boycotting Walmart officially. It's my first time saying it on the air. Boom, done. Not setting foot in. And plus, I got enough stuff made in China anyway. I don't need any more. Thank you very much, Walmart. I'm done with you. I'm going to find somewhere else to go that's going to give me what I need. It might inconvenience me a little bit because I can't find everything in one place, but just too damn bad. I'll make do. I'm not going to support you for doing this to our United States of America. And the worst part about all that, Brian, is what I'm finding with our fellow conservatives as well. It's freedom of speech. It is freedom of speech or religion. I'm sorry. I didn't mean speech. I meant religion. Freedom of religion. Yeah, you're right. If Islam was a religion, it's a form of government. It's just another oppressive form of government. Sharia law is no better than Nazism, for heaven's sake. You're going to do it our way or you're going to die. You will comply or you will die. That doesn't fit with the United States of America and with our U.S. Constitution and our Bill of Rights. So they're infiltrating, and big corporations like Walmart putting up a whole wall of all this, all the hijabs and all the different Muslim garbs that they buy and wear. Where were they getting it before Walmart decided to jump into the fray? Who pushed that button? Who said, yeah, this is a good idea. This will show support for our own community. They don't care. It's somebody way higher up is making that decision, Brian, and somebody's getting paid.
Yep. Always the case, right?
Paid, man. So this fraud that you found there in Minnesota, in your area, does Nick Shirley know about that? It'd be nice.
Well, yeah. Yeah, we've got all that. Yeah, I mean, the crazy thing is we keep seeing this stuff exposed, right? And, every day we keep hearing more and more about the fraud, whether it's Nick Shirley, anybody else. We've got guys, actually, Philip Parrish is running with Mike Lindell. Philip Parrish was running for governor. He's now running for lieutenant governor on the ticket. I met him at a convention. It was funny because he wasn't really into any of the speeches anyone's given. He didn't give a damn. He's there to give his speech, and he's kind of buried in the phone. And I had met him briefly, and I think his impression of having a J6er he wasn't necessarily into. And then I started speaking, and I get into my speech, and I notice him kind of start to look up from his phone, and then he takes off his glasses, and then he's leaning in, and when it's over, he said, "We should connect." And he takes my info, start following, and
awesome,
we're texting back and forth. So. But he was one of the original, very interesting story. He was in the Navy, and he was intelligence, so naval intel, working on counterterrorism, and he was over in the Middle East researching, where the money went. He traced the money back to Minnesota. So he was one of the original whistleblowers. He was telling people in the Navy, like, hey, look, all the hallmarks of money laundering are going on through the government down to these all the stuff that Nick Shirley's talking about now, and all this other stuff that's coming out about the autism centers and the medical, the overbilling and all this, and the money going back overseas. And we're seeing all this money, that literally cash, going through the airports, and how many millions upon millions of dollars that they were seeing going through there every month. And so he saw this and reported it. And then he got here, got out of the Navy and was here in Minnesota and reporting it. And he's still, fighting this fraud. So we got together and kind of kindred spirits over, hey, I expose this, you expose that. And so we could talk about it. But it's so pervasive and such a huge issue. Hopefully that they can go get elected. Their, primaries coming up here in 20 some odd days. He is one that will get in there and fight this fraud. He's passionate about it. He's accomplished at it, and we'll see where it goes. There's a lot of powers that be that have no interest in him actually going and exposing that, because of the billions upon billions of dollars that are getting funneled through. He's a problem for them, and the same group that saw me as a problem see them as a problem. And we are, we would screw up the way the money flows, because we're honest. We want, a diminished government. We want all the things that we say as conservatives that we want. We want to be left the hell alone. We want freedoms. They don't want that. We want to not be slaves. We don't want to see our tax dollars going to foreign countries and going to, immigrants that come in here and immediately get on the system. There isn't a single conservative you see that has a problem with legal immigration. What we have a problem with is people showing up, getting on the system, getting handed money, and out there driving better vehicles than what any of us are. How is that happening? Well, we know why it's happening. It's because certain groups want their vote, and they're literally buying it at our expense. So
what I've been saying out here when they started the campaign about don't call them illegal aliens. They're undocumented workers. That's what the media kept telling us in California. They're undocumented workers. So I immediately went on the air and started saying they're undocumented Democrats.
Yep.
Because that's how they're going to vote. And they know that. If they're coming from Central and South America, most likely they come from a socialist government, at least at the time. And they're importing voters. That's what this is going to be. Then along comes Jerry Brown and the motor voter law and making it legal for illegals to have driver's licenses, and you get registered automatically if you have a driver's license, or you can actually register to vote. No questions asked. But don't do it if you're illegal. Wink, wink.
Yeah. Yeah.
Insane.
And nobody to see it.
Look what's happened, man. Look what's happened to the state of California. I don't know if we're ever coming back from this, because nothing's been done about the fraud here. Nothing's been done about the fraud here.
Yeah. It's obvious what it is. And, the fact that, hey, you've got, they're going through to try to clean up the voter rolls, and it's all Democrat states that won't turn them over. We know it's rampant fraud. The president's come out and said it. And that's a frustrating thing right now. And, why ultimately you had me back on here is the rally that I'm having for justice coming up here in August was based on the fact that we're tired of the exposing. We've at the very beginning of this administration for the last 18 months, all we've heard about is fraud and corruption nonstop. It's been exposed, but we haven't seen perp walks, to your very point at the beginning of this. We haven't seen any meaningful arrests. There's been some garbage. I mean, the Comey thing is such a joke. This is what we're gonna go after. We have people who, like you said, this is treason as far as I'm concerned with a vast majority of this. So let's start arresting making meaningful arrests, watching people do perp walks. For J6ers and all of those that were weaponized against by the government. See, it wasn't just this 1,600 of us that were weaponized against by the government and thrown in prison. We had COVID doctors. We had parents who dared to speak up at their PTA and question DEI and this insanity. Those in California who would dare to question, hey, maybe we shouldn't have genital mutilation of our children without parental consent. Does anybody have a problem with? Oh, I'm the problem now. I get my kids taken away. Okay,
Right.
for daring to ask the question. So there's a
You're
whole
not
group
kidding.
of us who are weaponized against by the Biden DOJ. And a big part of the reason that Trump got elected was that weaponization. Every time they would come after him, conservatives would go, wait a minute, what the hell? The more they went after him, the more support he got. And we saw how corrupt it was. And so to come in and say, 2016, it was drain the swamp. Well, there's a lot of things that Trump has done that are amazing that we love, but that has been an abject failure. He has not drained the swamp. The swamp's gotten deeper. And going into this administration, we've seen no meaningful change in 18 months. Pam Bondi was abject failure. There was nothing happened within that. Since Todd Blanche has been acting as this, there's been no meaningful change. They've stood in the way of justice for the J6ers. I've been in the DOJ. I've been sitting with the weaponization department. I met with Ed Martin. My AUSA was fired, my prosecutor, within 11 days of me being there when they asked for specific information and exposed this. I exposed billions in fraud within the BOP, Bureau of Prisons. They created a task force based on my information. All of that was a Band-Aid and to look good, to show the optics that they were doing something, but there was no actual meaningful change. They're currently holding thousands of people in prison illegally past their due date to be released for monetary gain.
You said currently? You said currently, like it's still going on?
Still going on. That's my problem, is this has been going on for years and there's still guys. I get phone calls from guys constantly in prison, and mothers and wives and girlfriends asking me to help more because I was out there exposing it. And the Bureau of Prisons admitted to it. They admitted that billions had been exposed. The last day that I was in DC back in December of last year, I was literally bringing in a bunch of things I filed. One was an 8-figure lawsuit against the government. The others were judicial complaints and a judicial impeachment statement that I brought to the House of Representatives, hand delivered it. So I've been busy. And when I did that, the same day, I don't find it a coincidence, the Bureau of Prisons director and deputy director went on their podcast and admitted to what I had exposed, said that there were billions in fraud through the First Step Act, but they couldn't release these guys because all the money had been spent. So I'm like, wait a minute, you can't release these guys from prison because there was fraud and all the money's gone? How about you open up the fucking door and let them out? How about you do that? That was their excuse, was for not releasing them. So they admitted that everything I said was true. I was the first person to successfully argue my earned time credits. I had a piece of paper that showed the judge I should have been out 2 months prior. And my prosecutor went on the record and said, Your Honor, Mr. Mock isn't alone. There's thousands of people who are in the same position fighting the bureaucracy. But if you rule in his favor, it'll create a Pandora's box. So you can't release them. And he did rule in my favor. And this was Boasberg. Okay. I think he saw that the writing on the wall and was like, I'm not going to be a part of
Boasberg's
that.
one of the dirtiest of them all.
Yeah. He was covering his own butt. He knew what this was. So he did release me. Ordered me released that day, but I sat homeless for 17 days. That was on the 3rd of January. So I was literally living in a hotel room in Wisconsin waiting for my pardon because Minnesota wouldn't let me back in the state. Yeah, it was insane. So no, through all of that, I mean, I've gone out and been advocating for all of this, and I've gotten to the point where no, we are not seeing this through the DOJ. We elected Trump to have this administration change the culture within the DOJ, the FBI, all the 3-letter organizations. We expected reform. Doge came along, exposed all of this fraud, And then what happens in Congress? No actual change to it, right? We keep exposing. Well, how long until we, the people, have to do something about it? Because our elected officials clearly aren't.
I don't know. And
Yeah.
if the Senate doesn't pass the Save America Act, this coming November's midterm election, I think it's going to be disastrous with turnout on the right,
That's the point.
because so many of us are so disgusted with our own form of government. But that's the worst thing we could ever do. But that's what I'm hearing people talking about. That I hate that. I wish
It's
they
by
didn't talk
design.
that way.
Well, that's
It is
the
by
thing you got to
design.
look back at
Yeah.
is that we think in terms of conservative and Republican Democrat. There is no Republican Democrat. There's very few that get elected to a federal level that actually do give a shit about the people, right? Or doing their job properly. And if they are, they're going to get rooted out and replaced. They'll primary them right out of there. So they last a couple of years, maybe as long as MTG, right? And then they're gone. And so at the end of the day, no, they have no interest in actually running free and fair elections, because those don't exist. And they're not going to fix the problem. And right now we're dealing with Todd Blanche trying to get approved. That's the problem, is you have to go through the Senate to get your approval for this. So they hold the keys of the kingdom. That's why they shot down the first pick for AG, Matt Gaetz. That was supposed to be the AG. Matt Gaetz was going to come in and start cleaning house.
You
They
mentioned
shot
Marjorie
that
Taylor.
down.
You mentioned Marjorie Taylor Greene, by the way, just a little bit ago. Her and Matt Gaetz and Ted Cruz, I think, maybe Lauren Boebert, are the only ones who showed up there at that DC gulag in Washington.
Yeah,
DC.
no Ted Cruz. He might have taken a photo op later, but
it?
when we
But
had
Matt Gaetz was the biggest voice saying, "This is insane. Somebody look at what's going on. Let's get them out. This is insane what's happening to our own fellow American citizens just for peacefully assembling and letting their voices be heard at the Capitol building, because there's some who went in, because there's some who were, and I believe they were plants dressed up like
100%.
they're all MAGA, and they weren't. We know that there were FBI plants there. We know that now. We're trying to incite, trying to incite and get you all riled up and going into the Capitol building, and then they got you. But people were arrested who never even went into the Capitol building. If I remember right from our first show, you're one of them.
Yep.
You never even went in there.
Nope. I'm one of the 81 heaviest charged J6ers for quote unquote violence. My violent act, there was a 5-minute span that they charged me with everything they charged me with. And when I wouldn't bend the knee, they kept escalating. I went through multiple, so it initially started as a complaint. I was actually held in pretrial detention with nothing ever going in front of a jury. The judge illegally held me pretrial on a complaint. And then they went to a grand jury and got an indictment. They lied on all of that. We've proven it. And then when I wouldn't bend the knee, they got a superseding indictment, charged me with more stuff. And then when I wouldn't take their plea deal of 30 to 36 months, they went and got another superseding indictment, tacked on more stuff. Now, it was so absurd that they had to list their assaults. The only thing that I did that they could construe as an assault was when I was literally leading officers off of the area because there's a breakdown on the West Terrace and people were leaving. I kept pointing at this door where they were leaving. And literally officers would turn around and realize, okay, we got to go. I pat them on the back. There's a whole series of this. And the one that I came to, you see my hands immediately go up and I step back and he threatened to shoot me. And I've got on record, it took me 3 years to find it. I kept telling people this story that an officer threatened to shoot me. And I had attorneys that I fired that told me that I'd committed perjury by lying on the stand about that, saying that in court. And I said, I absolutely did not. I've not lied through this whole thing. And they had never been able to find a single contradictory statement. I had done hours upon hours of podcasts when I finally got out pre-trial. I had written letters, I had testified, all of that with literally dozens upon dozens of hours and all this stuff. They never found a single contradiction in anything I ever said. And so I had I pushed a shield. It was a split-second reaction. This guy literally took his hand off the shield, had just threatened to shoot me, and reached down to his side. And a split-second reaction, I pushed the shield. Well, he was standing on another shield, and he had slipped and fell on his butt. But to the right of me was CNN, MSN, Fox News, BBC, you name it. And so I became a face of violence on January 6th. And what the goal was to get me to plead out. And in all the pleas, what it was blame Trump, blame the Proud Boys, blame the Oath Keepers. Those were the scapegoats. That was the plan.
Let's please, we'll come back.
Yep.
But
there's a lot there.
About this the first time we had you on,
mm-hmm.
And anybody who hasn't seen that show, I want them to understand this plea deal that they were offering to Brian was basically one of those, what do they call it, boilerplate, where all the plea deals were the same, that they were trying to get all who were arrested, incarcerated, not even yet charged with anything.
Mm-hmm.
They said, you sign this and we'll make it real easy on you. We'll get you this, we'll get you that, we'll let you go, we'll give you just time served. But sign this thing. What did that thing say? What did that plea deal say?
The entire narrative that they gave about, going there, we were there for an insurrection, right? That was the thing. We were there at the behest of Trump to cause violence, that the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys were involved in this, that there's basically a grand conspiracy between Trump and these extremist groups, that's what it was. Right. And it was never that. It was that wasn't why any of us were there. It was all their made up narrative. But the reason they wanted that was for when Trump was going to go to trial, that they were going to have all these signed pieces of paper. Well, there's 2,000 people that all said that it was Trump's fault. His staunchest ally all showed up there who committed the violence. Look at these charges. Look at all these violent insurrectionists. They all said it was Trump. That was the deal. And so why we're the pardon was the very least he could have done. What we need now is justice. And that's what we're after. And that's why I've been pushing for this. It's why I keep showing up in Washington. It's why I'm here doing this, is we keep pushing for that justice. And part of that is making the Jan 6ers whole, and really any of those who are weaponized against by the DOJ. You can't destroy people's lives. We still face that. There's guys committing suicide. We just had another suicide of a Jan 6er because people can't get jobs. They can't rent apartments. They've taken away their whole life. They're getting out of prison and they got to go rent. And they
what? Can't. Because they were in prison, or specifically because they were Jan 6?
Oh, Jan 6. Yeah, we got tons of people who've gotten hired and get fired because they find out they're a Jan 6er, or they go through the background check. We've had dozens of suicides through this. People's families, they've lost wives and kids. And I lost my career, my house. I'm $1.5 million in the hole from this and counting. What I got out with, that I was left with after being vice president of my company, was my truck and what I could fit in a small storage unit. So, literally a truckload of my stuff was about what I had left. And, I had to go out and rebuild from there, from complete scratch. At the time, 46 years old, coming out, and you don't just replace a business that I had built up, over the course of decades. My kids, the time I lost with them, you don't replace that. You don't fix those relationships. I've got family I'll never talk to again. How do you replace that? What's the dollar amount on that? But at the very least, this DOJ can settle with us. They can come out and go, this Biden DOJ screwed you guys. You were the scapegoats. They used you as an example. This was wrong.
As an example, to make sure the rest of us never try to actually show up and let our voices be heard, to keep us in fear.
That's just it. But they're still doing
Trump, for anybody who goes, well, how come President Trump isn't doing anything to help these people get back on their feet? He did. He did. He donated the winnings of a lawsuit against the IRS, and said, instead, I'm setting this money aside. I'm not going to keep any of it. I'm setting this money aside and adding to it even to pay back all these people all these J6ers who lost everything like Brian did. And then one judge said, yeah, no, you don't get to do that. And seems to have shut the whole thing down. I think it went
Well,
all
it's
the way.
actually worse than that. It
Yeah.
wasn't just the judges where that was coming from. That was set up to fail. Those within the DOJ are not there to actually provide any justice. They're there to protect the institutions. The ones that just shut that down was the Senate, and specifically Republicans within that. Cornyn and Tillis right now are standing in the way of this. In the nomination of Todd Blanche as AG has to go through the process, and the Senate has to approve that. Well, the ones that are standing in the way are the rhinos. And here's the funny part of it: the Arctic frost scandal, right? Because they had their phones tapped. The worst thing in the world that could have happened to these Republicans was to have their phones tapped, and they're screaming about Boasberg getting impeached. Well, I brought an impeachment statement to the DOJ. I was actually working with the weaponization department. We had created a whole plan to go in and indict all of the Jan 6 judges. We were going to go take them down. And then the deep stated it. The weaponization department was completely shut down. That whole weaponization group that was created by Trump. The ones who are fighting against this are the same rhino Republicans who voted to give themselves $500,000 because their phones were tapped by the judges, the prosecutors going after Trump, the very people who conspired to deprive us of our civil rights, who cost me $1.5 million my whole life, tried to destroy us, me and 1,600 other people. They're fighting against us getting compensation when they themselves wrote a law to compensate themselves $500,000 because their fucking phones were tapped. That's what we're fighting. It's not the Democrats are bad enough, but it's the actual rhinos. That's what we're facing. So conservatives need to recognize that the rot is so deep, the corruption so deep. These people that sit in positions of power who have been in for Senate this long, and in our House leadership are not there for us. They are part of the system. They're part of the country club. And until we dismantle that and get real Americans in there, real patriots into positions of power, it's going to be the same thing. So, the way that it looks now, and if you are a student of history at all, the way that it looks like it has to go to get real and meaningful change is massive bloodshed, because that's historically what it takes. And so we either change now or it's coming, whether it comes in months, years, or decades. That's how the carnival ride ends, unless we hold people accountable and demand that we bring an end to this corruption and we see real justice. Thus my walk in August for that justice.
I keep hearing people talk about, civil war. There's going to be a civil war. It's going to be a civil war. It's going to go to violence. I think, if it does happen, it's going to be the Democrats against the socialists. I really think that's what's coming with the DSA, the Democrat Socialists of America. How in the world did we get to this point? By sitting back and not getting involved and not voting and not showing up. Oh, we'll elect somebody to take care of it. Out here in California, Steve Hilton made it past the primary. He'll fix everything. Really? Like Arnold Schwarzenegger did? He wasn't able to do a damn thing because we didn't get any other conservatives into any of the other offices. He's got to have a team behind him or he's going to hit a wall of shit.
Yep.
It's impenetrable. He's got to. We've got. So that's why I love what you're doing, and I wanted to let everybody know about this. If you missed J6 like I did, and you're thinking, I wish I would have been there. Well, now here's an opportunity to actually let your voice be heard. Show up, and it's August 29th. So we got 5 weeks. August 29th is coming up. Tell us about the March for Justice.
Yeah. So hashtag Miles for Justice. We put
Miles
together.
for Justice.
Yep.
Sorry.
I was hanging out with a buddy here. I became friends with the Disrespected Trucker. If you don't follow him online, go check him out. He helped put together the trucker convoy early back in 22 from California to DC.
I was a part of that when California
Yeah,
made it to Texas.
fun stuff. So he's awesome, and he's got a big following. Well, we ended up hooking up because he lives like 10 minutes away. I didn't know it. I'd followed him, and I moved down here. Oh, Jeremy's down here. So we got together, and then turns out that he knew my girlfriend. He had been friends with her brother. They grew up like a half a block away from each other. And my girlfriend, for the folks that don't know, I'm actually sitting in her bar. It's shut down now. She's got a lifetime liquor ban and a lifetime food handlers ban because she dared to keep her restaurant open during COVID. And Walls literally sent Keith Ellison down here to try to lock her up because she wouldn't force people to wear a mask, wouldn't shut down. And she actually offered up the bar when they shut down the churches in the state. She offered to have service here in the bar. So she stood up against them. She became an enemy, and they literally made it impossible for her to have a business and conduct business for the rest of her life. And so then when we met, we're two peas in a pod. So, and as I say, she has terrible taste in men. So it was a good day for me. And so now we got together and we said, hey, look, whether it's 3 of us that walk in there for a march or, 5 million, I'm going to stand on principle. I'm going to stand and say, look, I believe that we are not going to see justice if it isn't done before midterms. And my point now is I want to pull a Richard Pryor. For those of you that are old enough to remember, vote for none of the above. That was his line in Brewster's Millions. None of the above. If these people are going to stand in our way of real justice, if these rhinos are not going to allow it, then don't vote for them. You can go vote for your local ones. Leave them out. That's how you make your voice heard, is stop participating in the part of the system that is not going to work for you. And that's where we're getting is to go, yes.
That makes me nervous, though, out here in California, because we got such a tiny, they're a super majority. So I wind up having to vote for rhinos, and I know that they're freaking rhinos, but it's better than having another somebody with a D in front of their name, because I know what those demons stand for. A rhino, at least you can influence and coerce, hopefully, and the party can have a little influence. But out here in California, the Republican Party's infiltrated too.
Well, it's make them start listening to you, because if it's the only fear that they really have and the only power you really do have. If you go, look, we're done with you and we'll step away. They need us out there. So if that fear is there, because quite frankly, the way I'm looking at it right now is it isn't the Democrats that are stopping us from getting justice. We have the House, we have the Senate, we have the Supreme Court, and we have the White House. Why in the hell has nothing happened? We've seen no meaningful arrests. We've seen no meaningful change. Right. So clearly, they are not working for us. So why should we participate in that system? It's a real question. What are you doing for us? We got you here. Make the change. And we watched our president stand in front of the world and say the elections are not secure. There was fraud. Here it is. Now, I stood to support the congressmen and senators that were going to vote to decertify. When I stood up outside of that building, I got shot with rubber bullets. I got beaten. I got gassed. I had explosives thrown at me. I watched old men and women getting the shit kicked out of them out there for standing up for their rights. And they were right. They were right to stand up and question it. That's all that they did, and they were attacked for it. So those people should be made whole. Those who question COVID, which we know is a lie. Those people that had their lives ruined, those doctors that got their practices taken away. Those parents who stood up against DEI, or not even stand up against it, dare to question a PTA and get put on a watch list as a terrorist. Right. Those people that had their lives destroyed through COVID, like my fiance, a lifetime liquor ban, a lifetime food handlers ban as a restaurant owner, because you dared to say, hey, you can come in this restaurant whether you want to wear a mask or not. That was her crime. Remaining open and saying you can come in here if you so choose. That was it. And so that's the tyranny that we face. So those people should be made whole. This weaponization fund that was created. The only problem that I have with it is 1.776 billion was nowhere near enough. It needs to be about 30 times that to start taking care of people the way that they should be. And our government, yeah. Oh, you want to use taxpayer money for that? Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I think that the taxpayer money going to those of us that we're weaponized against is a far better use than the illegal immigrants that you bring in. Or
they use taxpayer money to incarcerate you. They use taxpayer money to railroad you in the courts. They use taxpayer money for the law enforcement. That was all taxpayer money. You didn't have a problem with that, did you?
Nope. Jimmy? How about all the money going overseas? How about the Ukraine war? How about the Iran war? How about all the reasons that we send money overseas? How about we put that in the pockets of the people who are weaponized against here and start to show that our government is supporting the people that are weaponized against, starting to make good on that. That's a start in this whole process. And then it's exposing what we've seen, because I could sit here for weeks and exposed everything about Jan 6. I was the first person to get into the media that there were undercovers there and that they were represented by a rainbow bracelet on their wrist. I actually literally smuggled that out of the gulag in 2022 and got it to the Epic Times. That's what forced Christopher Wray to have to go back in front of Congress and admit it. It's been a crazy run for the last 5 years.
I did not know that.
Yeah. That's crazy.
We didn't cover that in our first show. I never knew that until right now. That's awesome, man.
I would have gone back to prison longer because I had to sign a protective order. In order to get our discovery, we had to say that we wouldn't share that with anyone. And so me exposing what I exposed, there's a whole mess of it that I had to leak to various groups. There's stuff that I've kept that is my life insurance policy. I sincerely believe the only reason I haven't been killed to date was because I've pulled out evidence back when I first got pardoned. My TikTok blew up. I had 2 fake followers, and I went on there and I posted a video because something went viral that I filmed. I literally went back to pick up the other Jan 6er from the prison I was in with his mom. And that started going viral. And people were asking a different person about me, like, oh, this is his account. And they sent me to my account. I had 2 fake followers. And I said, shit. Okay, well, I'll just put out a couple of videos real quick, explain who I am. And I said, well, I'm going to my storage unit. I'm going to pick up some of the stuff, including my big box of evidence. And I'm going to show you evidence of Nancy Pelosi, who was directly responsible for January 6th. Yep. My account blew up overnight. I had 15,000 followers in like 20 hours and like 300,000 views or something insane. And my teenager looked at it and he goes, Dad, you didn't even use hashtags. You're not even doing it right. What the hell's wrong with you? Right. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know. How do you do this TikTok thing? And so I blew up. And then I was literally about to go live. I made that announcement that 7 hours later I was going to go live when I came right down here in this, right where we're sitting. And I got, they banned my account permanently because I was going to go live with evidence
on TikTok.
And, yep. And so I've actually, upon getting out the first time, because I got out pre-trial, did a year pre-trial. I managed to get myself out. I was the only Jan 6er that did that. That wasn't for medical reasons. And then I spent 2 years pre-trial. I had to go back into prison. So I got to have my life destroyed twice through this whole thing. But I had given a bunch of people some evidence and said, basically, if anything happens to me, this is my dead man switch. Get this out to media sources. And I had some specific ones that I wanted them going to, and it was going to go out wide, stuff get put online. And I still have stuff that I haven't exposed about Jan 6. I could blow your mind. I keep adding to it. I've uncovered exactly how they did the operation, who was involved within the intelligence community. It went international. went through multiple agencies. I know the who put it all together. I've had whistleblowers come to me because they knew I was doing an investigation. I've met with the Jan 6 committee, the current one. They are not going to take this seriously. They will not talk to my whistleblowers. I have people in the courts that prove that they are destroying evidence. They've literally destroyed entire hearings. Jan 6 hearings have been wiped off the record. Like they don't exist. They're out at Pacer is where you find all this stuff. That's been purged of it. They're destroying evidence. They've been destroying evidence the whole time. They continue to do it. So you don't get any further within the DOJ. They're there to protect it. So the idea that Trump is doing stuff to fix this, that's kind of a pipe dream, because everybody within the agencies are there to protect the agency. And if they're not, they get shown the door, put off into an office. I had a contact within the DOJ of the weaponization department, a lawyer who literally got in trouble because he was part of the weaponization team, and the civil rights division worked directly underneath the Harmeet Dillon. And he was bringing stuff to her constantly about Jan 6, about civil rights, about weaponization, fix this. And he brought a woman in that was weaponized against. He literally got suspended, got dressed down in there. She went right to him and said, what do you expect us to do? Open a case against ourselves? Well, yeah, we're the civil rights division. This was done during the Biden. We are the DOJ now. We don't do that. If they want justice, go to Mike Davis, pay him $500,000 to have him petition the White House. That's a response. You have to literally pay a lawyer who has an insider to go take your case, specific case, to the White House to get pressure upon the DOJ to do something. And then you can get the justice only if the powers that be within the Senate will approve that, or you'll be let go at a certain point. So there's only so far you can push, because the whole machine will come against you. That's the reality of it.
Oh, Lord help us.
Yeah, it's worse than you think. I mean, this is Cliff's Notes. This is highlight the stuff that we've seen. We spent 6 months right after the pardon, basically living in DC. We were there constantly. We got to know everybody in Congress, all the people that actually run it, not the politicians themselves, because they suck. They're the figurehead, but the ones that actually work there. We knew the secretaries, the kids that would sit out there and check in, and all the chiefs of staff. We knew them, and how it all worked. Like, so we're getting in the DOJ. We got in the White House office.
The ones, by the way, who we've discovered are not even vetted.
No.
These staffers not even vetted.
Oh God, it's
we
insane.
have no idea if they're spies. We have no idea if they're here legally. We don't even ask.
Yeah, it's worse. I was fairly well informed going in, but spending the time actually advocating for something being in DC, it is so much worse than you or any of your listeners could possibly imagine. Right? It is so much worse than you could possibly imagine. It is so corrupt. There's what it really is. It's gross. Is the corruption and the incompetence on top of it is what's staggering, and the lack of accountability anywhere. All it is cover up, cover up, cover up. You never expose the system. I literally presented back in December a 30 some odd page risk assessment of oversight failures across all three branches of government over a 5-year span, covering 2 different administrations. And it was ignored. When it was ignored on January 6th, I said, okay, I gave them a deadline and they missed it. And I said, I'm going to go public, start exposing. And I started going public. I literally went on Emerald Robinson the next day. Within 5 minutes, I started getting calls that Ayanna Presley of the Squad, shaved head, black chick from Boston area, complete lunatic, always just screams nonstop, just yells. That's what she does. That's her shtick.
Right.
And she has a placard, a big picture of me up on the floor of Congress with my name across it, calling me a fraudster and a criminal because I exposed what they were doing. And when I exposed the billions in fraud, I know how it goes and loops through, goes through some billionaires and circles back into the pockets of politicians. Everybody gets paid off along the way. I figured out how it goes and how certain prison reform groups are paid to promote prison reform, but they're not actually doing that. They are to an extent, but when you control all these groups that protest, right, or are about reform in any way, are all funded by the people that are getting paid through them. Okay, so yes, there are people that want change, but they're controlled in how much they can do, because if there's actual change, if there's actual accountability, then the funding stops. So there's a point where those that are in power in those groups, right, these 501c3s or whatever it may be, they'll get a phone call from someone that, hey, you like your funding? This is the line. This is as far as you can go. If you step over it, your funding gets cut. Your organization is going to get dismantled. We literally were working with congressmen and senators and various different people who were supporting the efforts that the 501c3 that I was working with for prison reform. We were making some massive headway, and we were trying to get funding for this thing done. And when we pushed too far, a group literally came in and called everybody that was supporting us within about a 24-hour period. Everyone that was supporting us, all the congressmen that we were working with, had called to ask them to take their names off of the literature that were basically like endorsements for the organization. So they effectively just destroyed the organization, and then literally started bribing people to get them to leave and destroy it. That's what they do. So they discredit, bribe, steal, destroy, whatever they can do if you get too close or too far. And that's just the reality of it. There's almost endless money. We're screwing with their it's an ongoing criminal organization. That's what our government is. And those that arrest are there to, the police that don't know it, the law enforcement don't realize that by and large, they're being used to enforce that. They're the foot soldiers for a mafia is really what we're facing. The court system is there to punish and destroy any of those that would stand up under the guise that we're doing it for, a law and order. Some things they are, it's great. Oh, look what the FBI did. They took care of all these pedophiles. Well, yeah, pedophiles suck. We can take care of those. I'm not losing sleep or worried about any pedophile coming in and taking my rights. I'm worried about the federal government in there destroying our way of life. The pedophiles aren't the ones that are bringing in illegals by the truckload to get them to vote to destroy our way of life and start a Maoist revolution right here in the United States. Okay. Now, we could take care of that locally. We could take care of those guys. If they let the prisons actually take care of the pedophiles, that takes care of the problem right there. But they're actually a protected class within the prison. If you get in a fight with a pedophile in prison, you get a hate crime charged against you.
What? Are you serious? Is that bad?
Yep. Yeah. Pedophiles are protected people, and they've got it great in prison. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not that long ago that if you were a convicted child molester, you were going to find yourself exiting the planet one way or the other.
They run the yard in a lot of prisons. Yeah, there'll be a small group of non-child molesters. The crazy thing is, where I was in prison, when I initially went in there, the guy that does the intake said, just go find yourself the solid whites and you'll be good. Like, solid whites? They literally tell you basically join a gang. Like they call them cars, who you ride with. So, blacks get together, Hispanics have their groups, and then there's the white dudes. Well, it's if you weren't a snitch, right, and you're not a pedophile. There was a small group of the actual, like, solid white dudes, because that's what you do. It's all race based in there. It's who you can associate with, eat with, go to rec with, and then the pedophiles were all one big group. It didn't matter, but they outnumbered all the rest of us in prison for sure. So, but yeah, if you touched one, it didn't matter what the circumstances were. Even if one came at you, you were going to get charged with a hate crime, and you were definitely going to get time added to your sentence for that. They're absolutely protected. So the fact that I see all this crap go through with the FBI about that, which is cool. Like, yes, end child trafficking. I think we can all get behind that, but we don't need the FBI for that. Quite frankly, the FBI is so corrupt and so broken that we need the FBI to go away. It's not what it was initially set up to be. They were supposed to investigate. Actually, back during Prohibition, they couldn't make arrests. They could get a warrant. They brought it to the sheriff. They didn't carry guns. I like that. How about we take away the guns from the FBI? Now we have them with the fucking IRS. Why is the IRS carrying around weapons?
That was a Joe Biden thing. 85,000 of them carrying weapons. IRS agents.
Yep. So, no, one of the things I got used against me in court was, I think I called for somewhere on one of my Facebook posts was, calling for the complete destruction of the federal government, dismantling of all these things, the IRS, the monetary system, and restarting under the Constitution. Like, let's redo this. I don't call for a revolution. We already had that. What I call for is a re-revolution where we actually follow the Constitution. We don't have to rewrite the thing. Just follow what we got. We already have the right system. It's that simple.
Enforce the laws is all that.
Yeah, it's
Enforce
weird.
The laws. And the Constitution of the Bill of Rights is the law of the land.
Yep. That's it.
Dang, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, there's an opportunity coming up August 29th at the Capitol building.
Actually, we're going to start at the White House, walk down past the DOJ, and circle back up. I have an audience of one. People are getting on me because the Senate won't be there. I gave them an opportunity. As far as I'm concerned, the Senate and the House are so corrupt, they're done. The DOJ can provide justice for all of us, and the president appoints that DOJ. So I want the White House, I want this administration to start the process through the DOJ. The DOJ can expose all of this. They can bring the cases against them. They can bring criminal cases against all of the criminals that actually exist in DC. We had a plan put together through the weaponization department, weaponization group, to actually bring these judges in front of the courts, and they could do that right now. So I know how to do it. I helped I did write the initial brief on this. I have proof that the courts conspired to deprive U.S. citizens of their civil rights. They conspired to do it. We can prove it. They should be in prison for it. Period. End of story.
I agree. So. And you can show up and march with Brian on August 29th. What are the details? Fill us in.
So, yeah. And then in the lead up to that, what we're asking people to do is put together little videos on your social media. Just put a hashtag Miles for Justice. Talk about what you want to see in justice. This isn't about a Jan 6 thing. That's obviously what my experience has been, but I also stand for prison reform. People are sitting in prison, should be released. They've served their time. Let them the hell out. That's pretty basic. Yep. Like I said, the COVID doctors, the people that were weaponized against during COVID, the PTA parents who were put on lists and had their lives ruined. Anyone who stands for justice and expects that this administration should be different. If you voted for that, if you voted drain the swamp back in 2016, the whole thing that we expected to see was change. We voted an outsider in. That was the appeal of Trump, that he was going to stand against this system. That's what we voted for. We weren't voting for Donald Trump. We were voting against the system. We didn't want another Clinton in there, right? We didn't want an extension of Bush, Clinton, Obama, the same damn thing, the same corrupt system. We wanted real and meaningful change. We wanted accountability. We demanded it. That's what we're standing for. And if you believe in that, stand with us. put a hashtag Miles for Justice on any of your social media posts and throw it out there. A quick little minute video. We're asking people to walk 1 mile a day. Take a walk, think about it, talk to us about how you feel about justice and accountability. We need it, and we demand it before the midterms. And we want to expose those who don't. If we don't have senators and congressmen standing for that accountability and getting in the way of this administration providing it, don't vote for them. They got to earn your vote.
And this isn't going to cost you anything. If you want to contribute, absolutely. But it's called Miles for Justice. Brian's putting this together with a whole lot of other pages, and I think it's fantastic. I hope we show up in the tens, even hundreds of thousands. I don't know. How are you getting this out? What kind of I mean, we only got 5 weeks until it happens. What kind of attention are you getting for it?
Grassroots. We're getting grassroots. More than you think, but everybody, we keep getting calls and texts and emails from folks. We've expanded well beyond just the Jan6 community. We've got lawyers and legal teams that are behind this. Those that are seeking justice. I mean, it's pretty universal. And, those that are America First, they're pissed off that we haven't seen the change that we expect. And so that group in a big way is getting behind this. And so we'll see what the turnout's like. We're going to take kind of a long drive in. So we'll make some stops along the way. Do some videos on our way in. So we'll schedule some spots. We'll be coming out with an announcement of where we'll hit, and so Des Moines, I know, will be a spot that we'll stop probably day one, pick up one of my buddies.
Well, where can we go to get all the details?
I will be letting you know as we drop this on my X space for sure. You can catch me there at Brian Mock, PPOW. On my Facebook. I am on Instagram somewhat technically, and TikTok. I reopened an account, though they like to ban me a lot. So X seems to be the spot that you can find me on. And as we blast that out, Disrespected Trucker as well. Give him a follow on there. He's got a ton of followers, but he's putting out stuff as well.
Lean to the side so we can see your flag and tell us what.
Oh yeah. So let's go this way. PPOW 1621. Which is being held up by my pitchfork now because sent a message. So I made that when I first got out of the gulag after doing a year in DC, most of it in solitary confinement. I got out. I was homeless. I literally had to live in my parents' garage in August till I could get them to allow me back up to Wisconsin. I couldn't get to Minnesota. Minnesota still wouldn't let me in, but I could get close to my kids at least. So my very first interview I did, I grabbed this flag. I had to walk down to a Target to buy it and spray painted PPOW 1621. It's how I signed off political prisoner of war on all my correspondence
political prisoner
jail.
Of war. There it is.
And I stand by it until we see justice. That flag is going to stay behind me in every interview, and that I'll be carrying across the country into DC with my pitchfork.
Start following them on X, Brian Mock, MOCK, Brian Mock, PPOW. Find them there and get involved with this. Help share this show. Let's get the word out about the Miles for Justice, which is coming up August 29th in DC, but it sounds like it's starting even further out, and you're having convoys come in and all that kind of stuff. That's awesome, man.
Fun.
We don't have much time. I
appreciate to Charlie.
It. We don't have time. Time.
Help support Charlie as well. All the good patriots out there, they're working it because you're there. You go. Get a mug, get a hat, all the things. No, it's funny because I grew up in a music store, and when you're throwing out the country and rock stuff, I'm like, yep, that sounds like me. And hey, man, we were trying to have a good time, live our life, be left the hell alone. We weren't out there being political. It's crazy.
I was not.
No, hell no. I wasn't either. I was trying to live my life. This stuff got too big and got in our faces. And you know what? We don't like being screwed with. We're the kind of guys, we punch back. So, we're done. And that's what it takes. This is a
good one. I love that you're doing this. Miles for Justice. Thank you, Brian.
Awesome. Thanks, Charlie.
Fantastic. All right, my friend. I'll talk to you
Appreciate
soon.
You. Oh, absolutely.
Let's talk again as it gets closer. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. I'm American hero as far as I'm concerned. Just about all of them are. There may have been some bad ones, but I haven't met any of them. And I've had over a dozen J6ers on my show. I know there were well over 1,000, but just good patriots showing up as our founding documents guarantee that right to do. And then you have wicked, evil people in there usurping and going against our own U.S. Constitution and our Bill of Rights and punishing anybody who shows dissent or says, hey, wait a minute, this isn't right. Those people have got to be put away. Those people who perpetrated these crimes against their own fellow Americans have got to be put away. Starting at the top. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America. But most importantly, America bless God.